There's 4 right now. You ready? Yeah. It is 4:02, and it is time to call to order the October 22nd, 2024 Pasco Public Facilities District Board meeting. Good afternoon, and welcome to the Pasco Public Facilities District Board meeting. Agenda packets are available on the City of Pasco's website at www.pasco-wa.gov under the Public Facilities District Board webpage. This meeting is also being televised live on PSC-TV channel 191 on Spectrum Cable in Pasco and Richland, and is streamlined on the city's Facebook page, website, YouTube channel, and Microsoft Teams. Lastly, the public may submit their comments and or questions by contacting the Pasco Public Facilities District Executive Director or the Pasco City Clerk. Debbie, if you'd go ahead with the roll call, please.
Thank you. Carolyn Bowdish. I'm here. Leonard Dietrich.
Yes.
Marie Gillespie. Here. Spencer Gillette.
He's still trying to log in. I do have him on text at the moment.
Okay, great. And Mark Morissette.
Here.
Thank you.
Agenda item 3, executive session. Just a minute here. The Pasco Public Facilities District will now meet in executive session to discuss with legal counsel about current or potential litigation per RCW 42.30.110 1i. And the board will be in executive for 15 minutes until 4:20 p.m.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
would also note that besides legal counsel and the board members, that your executive director, your finance director, Darcy, and also finance person, Veronica, would also be attending the executive session.
Very good. Let's go.
Right.
Okay.
We'll wait for the rest of the people.
Okay, so the board members are back, but we're going to wait for the staff members to take a seat.
And just checking if you, Leonard Dietrich, are
Yep.
you able to hear us? Great. And again, I do see Spence, but he's apparently not able to see or hear us. He may try and dial back in. And I do see another person on a 425 area code that must be listening in. Is that what you by chance you, Scott? Well, Mr. Chair, I do know that we do have Leonard. I'm not sure if we have Spence or not.
It is 4:25 PM and I call the regular meeting back to order. Now, we are back in session, and Debbie, you are going to go ahead. Agenda item 4, the recognition of visitors, public comments, please.
Certainly. All right, this item is provided to allow the public an opportunity to bring items to the attention of the Pasco Public Facilities District Board. Its purpose is not to provide a venue for debate or for posing questions with the expectation of an immediate response. Public comments will be normally limited to 3 minutes by each speaker. Those with lengthy messages are invited to summarize their comments and/or submit written information for consideration by the PPFD board outside of formal meetings. Lastly, when you're called upon, please state your name and the city or county of residency before providing your comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Debbie. Item number 5, approval of minutes.
Mr. Morrison, I just note that I've not received any phone calls from anybody wishing to ask any questions or attend virtually.
Thank you, Matt. Item number 5A, approval of the September 2024 Pasco Public Facilities District Board meeting minutes. And there's a motion. If somebody would please read the motion.
Okay. I move to approve the PPFD board minutes from the September 17th, 2024 meeting.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
So it's been moved and seconded to approve the September 2024 board meeting minutes. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, then all in favor of the meeting minutes as presented, vote by saying yes.
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 Opposed, say no. Read. All right, opposed, say no. Hearing none, then the motion carries. Item number 6, the claims approval. And before we do this, you got to help me out every time on this, Darcy. Are we going to make the motion and then you're going to discuss it, or are you going to discuss it before we make the motion?
I think if it's okay with you, I'll discuss it first, just so you
Perfect, thank you.
I can provide some commentary and then you have all the information for the motion. Before you in your packet is a list of claims or payments that have occurred in the month of September. The one item that I would like to highlight that I know the board members are all aware of, however, it's large purchase is $4.5 million purchase of property for the Aquatics facility. So that was paid in September, and you can see that outlined in the and the listing of claims activity. And then also just as a reminder, the claims are the items that you're approving, and then we have, just for clarity, included organizational service, an entry that's made internally so that the expenses match the expenses statement. And so we are, the motion is now before you to approve.
Sorry about that. Go
No
ahead.
problem.
Is that the end of your report then for us?
Yes.
Okay. So thank you, Darcy. So now if someone would like to read the motion, unless there's any other further discussion? Go ahead.
Okay, I move to approve the September 2024 PPFD claims accounts payable in the amount of $4,779,284.02.
Is
I'll
there a
second.
second? Okay, it's been seconded. So is there any further discussion regarding the motion and approval of the accounts payable claims? Hearing none, then all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed, say no. Hearing none, the motion carries.
I note too that I believe I heard Spence's voice, so I think he's now participating in the meeting.
I'm here.
Very good. Item 6B, approval of travel reimbursement for the Pasco Public Facilities District Executive Director. If somebody would please read the motion.
I move to approve travel reimbursement for the PPFD Executive Director for recent travel to Linwood, Washington, where he participated in the Association of Washington State Public Facilities Conference in the amount of $377.58.
Is there a second?
I
Second.
So it's been moved and seconded. And is there a discussion regarding the motion? Hearing none, then all in favor of the motion as read, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no.
Aye.
Okay, so the motion carries. Thank you. So it's probably best the school teacher read these motions. So item number 7, financial report. We're back to you, Darcy.
Thank you. Thank you, board members. We have included, as typically we do, financial statements related to activity for the month of September, in this instance, for the PPFD fund, and included is a balance sheet and an what was considered a budget performance report, but it of course has the budget and then any activity, both revenues and expenditures, for board review and to keep you informed of the activity that has occurred in the month. The balance sheet has your position as of today, especially, or not today, end of September, cash balance, any receivables and any outstanding payables. And so you can see those values displayed there. And then the budget performance report, as I mentioned, has revenues and expenses, both budget and current month and year to date. So they partner with the claims report that we discussed earlier, so you can see the current month activity and the itemized amounts that are payments that posted to those different expense accounts. The one other piece of information for your review is an accounting of the sales tax receipts in the month of September by category of business and total amounts as well, so that you have that information to review and be aware of. And if you have any questions, we're glad to answer those.
Any of the board members have questions for Darcy?
I do not.
Okay, and you, Spence?
No.
Okay, very good. Marie? You're okay, Caroline? Okay.
Yeah.
So then we're going to move to agenda item number 8A, Design and Construction Committee report. Marie?
Okay, well, the Design and Construction Committee has been very, very busy. It's very exciting. We are in full swing to develop design details. I'm pleased to report that the city staff has been attending the meetings and providing us valuable input on how we are going forward. And we've been looking at several different categories of design, and I'll go through those now. We've looked at lighting, and we've given consideration to maintenance of the lights, placement in the natatorium and outdoors, the control systems to be compatible with what the city is already familiar with, and the ease of use. Also, security and communications. We've been looking at placement of security cameras, how we will provide access controls and perform intrusion detection. I'm happy to say that the large party room, which is also the future boardroom, where we will conduct these meetings, will be capable of broadcasting the future PPFD meetings as we're doing now. We've decided that we would like to provide Wi-Fi to the building staff only, and not to the patrons, to encourage interaction with other people while you're at the aquatic facility. We've also talked about putting a camera on the water slide tower and a monitor so that would help the lifeguards monitor safe slide use. We've decided a no on cameras in the parking lots based on input from the city, that we don't want to be responsible for what's happening in the parking lots and answering lots of questions about who scratched my car, that kind of thing. We've looked at preliminary landscape designs from the landscape architect, and we're factoring in the landscape requirements that come with the Broadmoor development rules. The natatorium size, we've looked at, in my view, the number one critical decision betterment to increase the natatorium size by 10%, which equates to about 1,200 square feet. And that would ease foot traffic flow around the indoor pool. We would do this pending funding, but the design team is proceeding as if that will come true. We've been looking at plumbing, showers and sinks and toilets and water fountains and things like that, all the exciting things that you get to purchase when you build a new facility. And we've also taken a preliminary look at the interior design. So we've begun to look at potential colors and finishings, and the theme is a desert oasis. So the feel is has a very organic feel with desert tones. And I think it will be very, very pretty. I'm very excited. No what? No orange. We're staying away from the typical aquatic facility where the water slides are primary red, blue, and yellow. We want this to be more representative of our theme of rivers, ridges, and sunsets. So I think it'll be very attractive. We've spent a lot of time talking about what is on the betterments log, and we've shortlisted the top items that we would choose to add now, pending additional funding. Those items would be the 10% more natatorium space, implementing the next generation chlorination system, which would ease maintenance for the city, putting additional skylights in the natatorium to give more natural light, upgrading the exterior soffits so that would ease maintenance on the outside of the building so we wouldn't get wasp nets and things like that at the entrances. A rain cloud feature. So we saw a picture of one of these things a few months ago, I think from an aquatic center in New Mexico, where it was basically a big thing, kind of like a light fixture that hung down from the ceiling, and water fell down from it and lights flashed, and maybe there was some sound of thunder. So that's something like that we could customize to our theme would be really nice. and some additional colorful lighting. So that's what we've been working on for the last 4 weeks. Any questions?
Questions, Caroline? Spence, Leonard?
No, you're getting down to the color of the umbrellas. Good job.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. It's very exciting.
And you can't take a day off yet?
No.
Okay. All right. So then we'll move to the next agenda item, the Finance Committee. So the Finance Committee, we're going to defer until 10A when we get into the motion about the betterments, just so as part of that discussion, we can talk about that priority decision model. Is that okay with everybody?
Yes.
Okay, good. Next item on the agenda, 8C, Association of Washington Public Facilities District Conference Report. Caroline and Matt and Heath. Who's going first? Caroline, go ahead, Caroline.
We had a good trip. So it was hosted really by 3 PFDs. Linwood, that it was said that we were going to Linwood, so that's one of them, and it's right next door to Edmonds. And then on the full day on Thursday, they put us all on a shuttle bus and took us up to Everett. And so it was all 3 of those PFDs that were showing off what they'd done and treating us. So the first evening we had a performance, a musical performance, very good Seattle musician, cellist, in the redone theater. It was a PFD project that was not starting from scratch from a pile of sand the way we are, but it was a building that was already there, and they repurposed it into a theater that was very nice. Then we had lots of conferences, land use considerations, innovation in public spaces around the country, which I found very interesting, lobbyist report, state of the market and best practices or third-party vendor management, feasibility study, importance of political advocacy got canceled, unfortunately, case study in PFD economic impact, then the tour of the Linwood Event Center, and we took the shuttle to Everett where they took us on a tour of the Future of Flight Museum and saw the biggest building in the world under one roof. And from there we went to the Angel of the Winds arena tour, and so that was another PFD project. And we did a presentation, Heath and Matt did, on our project. And there's a business meeting and creating the heart of the city center as was another presentation. So it covered a lot of topics, not too wonky on the money end, fortunately. So a few of the notes that I took, designing for the future, instead of having a building for this and another building for that and another building for this other thing, they said we're going in the direction of buildings that could be multi-use and very flexible. It described some where in a matter of a morning or an afternoon, they could change the configuration of the building inside from one use to another with very little work. And then they said instead of huge facilities, they're going towards smaller facilities and things that are possible for smaller communities so that people don't have to travel 2 hours to get into the city center to go to a performance. Then when I did get into the more wonky stuff, spend your bond proceeds within 3 years. Don't sit on it. Keep complete records. Talk to the bond counsel, which we have. We need to keep records of everything, and be sure of proper conduct, common sense, safety, incident documentation, all these reminders of things that hopefully people would know but might be forgotten. Be sure your vendors maintain proper insurance. So you have people selling goodies at the stand, be sure they're insured. Require copies of policy endorsements to accommodate the certification of insurance. So are some of the things that I took. Matt, do you have other stuff?
I think you'd be excellent at preparing and giving next year's presentation. That is extremely thorough.
I'm just,
The thing I
I
would,
don't have a big fancy sheet. I'm just yakking.
you covered many of the details. The thing that I took away from it was this is the third conference that I went to as your director. During COVID times, there was about 11 people the first year. There were about 24 last year. I think there were 35, maybe upwards of 40. I think the PFDs are going to become much more active moving forward. There was a lot of discussion. Also, part of that business meeting too. It's been held together, let's say, casually and with baling wire. Calvin Dudney, our president over at Kennewick PFD, took charge to. We're going to tighten things up as a state association of boards, and I think there'll be a follow-on from that. So I also noticed that Spokane and Seattle were there this year. They weren't in previous years. So I think people are coming out from the COVID hole and participating, and Tri-Cities is very active in that. And besides the presentation that myself, Heath, and Jordan gave, Kennewick also gave a presentation, and they did ask a fair number of questions about the design build process too. So I think that was well received. And briefly, though, I just wanted to be brief. So anything else Heath might share? Or did we cover it?
No, I was pleased to go, and that was a business development opportunity for us. So we went on our own dime, but it was great to be able to present the project. I just really happy to be affiliated with the project and to be able to represent you anywhere I can. So that was fun for me.
Oh, one thing that I thought I perhaps should share with the rest of the board is that after Wenatchee had their debacle, it was known all around the country, and other people had no clue how to pronounce the names of cities in Washington. And among the attempts at pronouncing Wenatchee, which did not come out Wenatchee, the funniest one was Wenatchee.
Mm.
So,
They thought we were French, huh?
so if we want to talk about Wenatchee, it's an inside joke.
All right, thank you very much. Old business, is there any old business, Matt? I'm not aware of any. Good. Now we will go to item number 10, new business, and 10A, potential betterments planning. Matt.
I would like to kick this off. In page 16 of your packet is a one-pager that shows a list of betterments. I think that Ms. Gillespie did a great job at summarizing what both the Design and Construction Committee reviewed as potential betterments related to you remember at the last meeting, the board approved contingent upon not needing a contingency for debt service, spending some of those additional funds towards project priorities. And the list that Ms. Gillespie is presented is here, but also besides the Design and Construction Committee recommending it, also had the Admin and Finance Committee review it in terms of value. And I took a stab at a suggestion from that group to add and I'm calling sales revenue and improved experience. and then also a category called operations or maintenance costs. The idea is that these things probably from a financials perspective should help with the sales and revenue or improved experience, and then ideally reduced operational or maintenance costs or reduce them less than the other. A little bit of a judgment call. I tried to go with green arrows are good. Red arrows are not good, but also the one red arrow on there is a small increase relative to the potential large increase on there. So this is an attempt for the two committees to sort of reconcile as a recommendation to the full board to pursue these project betterments, again, contingent on that not being debt service. And I'll give you a heads up later on the agenda. The bond sale went through and can confirm that we are going to have the extra $3 million. So we'll have a $50 million loan. So we would be able to proceed with these for sure today.
This is Leonard. My only comment on that is I see that the construction committee had not spent the full amount that was potentially allocated, and I appreciate that very much. So there's always going to be something that happens that you're not ready for. So by not spending that whole amount and keeping it in abeyance, I think is a good, strong plan. And that's it.
Well, related to Leonard's comment just now, don't we also have reserves in our construction budget, and then the contractor has contingency?
That would be answered by someone else, but I believe that is probably true. But I just know that there's always a snake in the woods someplace that comes back. And we all have to recognize that there's only so much money there, and there is no other pool to go to. So walk safely through this thing.
I believe, Spence, you affirming we do have both an owner's contingency and a construction contingency, but those are not to be considered at this point.
Yep, that is accurate. And I think what the Design and Construction Committee and potentially the Finance Committee is recommending in betterments, the good news about that is that that's not touching the contingencies. So that's using this extra money that has come out of not needing a bond reserve. And as a result, those betterments are able to be purchased without any effect on the current contingencies, which also have not been dipped into yet. And Leonard is right, we will need those. There will be things that come up that we'll need them. And that's I think the good part about this additional funding is that we can dip into some of these betterments without eating into our contingencies at all.
So am I to understand that we have an additional $3 million in construction budget, but right now we're proposing to spend 2.3. So there is an additional $700,000 that we could choose.
Approximately, yeah. There, when we fully reconcile the bond amount and everything, there is a little bit of, we also did purchase insurance, for example. So there'll be a little bit of adjustment there, but approximately 3 million, yes.
Okay.
And also the note too, that I did put an asterisk down there that, so for 2.3, the target we set was through the end of the year, the items that needed to be decided before the end of the year. So we're a little ahead of the game. There is a possibility the Design and Construction Committee or others may come back with some other potential items like a ninja course or a third outdoor slide or sound system or LED screens, but those are not before discussion tonight. Just wanted to kind of give a heads up of there is more on the betterment list. But tonight, I think everybody's confident that we can do this 2.3 million of betterments.
So really, this is just the time critical.
More so,
betterments.
yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Mr. President, if I could just for 1 second, I just want to make sure that for clarification for the board, because I know there's a lot of nuance to all the different processes. But if you could just maybe give us a little bit of a context related to where we're at in terms of like as we're heading, this is through the design portion, and then as we're heading into the guaranteed maximum price and those types of things as that comes up down the road. Could you clarify that, just because I know that's been a question several times from board members?
Yeah, so we have not reached a GMP yet. And that will be upcoming. We'll be doing we anticipate doing an interim GMP. So a small portion of the project as a pre-GMP before we can agree on the total GMP to get some early work going. So that GMP will be probably agreed to in December. That'll be brought before you to approve. And then the full GMP will be in the February timeframe is the plan. And that's all covered on that first page of my report that's in your packet, I believe. Yes, we're carrying contingency on the owner side, which is outside the design build contract of about a little shy of 2.9 million. So healthy contingency there. And then the design builder also has contingencies in their contract that are worth a fair amount of money as well. I don't have them in front of me right now. I don't want to quote because I'll probably be wrong. But those contingencies are all in play. Those are there to absorb design changes during design that maybe need to happen that might flex the budget some. Things that come up that we discover and as we eliminate risks. But those contingencies, as we eliminate risks, for instance, once we set a GMP, that might be a good time to discuss, and potentially I could see a recommendation coming to the board to reduce the owner side contingency at that point because the risks will be far lower, and thereby dip into some more betterments. That could be part of the process going forward.
And GMP again is?
Guaranteed maximum price.
Okay.
This is Leonard. I appreciate you looking from all the angles. So I bring that up as a point of interest, but you are on top of it. So I appreciate that very much. Thank you.
Okay, then do you want to hear from the Finance Committee at this point or the discussion of the motion? Does it? Okay, just very quickly though, the Finance Committee did meet to talk about the betterments list and asked and to have included some sort of a sense of these betterments and what they contributed to the contribution margin. And I'll define the contribution margin as having a positive effect on the revenue compared to the costs. That obviously the sales tax dollars are going to have to subsidize the operation. And so then the request that we had on the Finance Committee was just that this would have a positive effect on that contribution margin as opposed to perhaps increasing the need for the subsidy. And you can see the chart to the right there that our questions are answered. And of course, part of this is that the concern about the contribution margin. Phase one has a need for the subsidy, but then before too long, when we get into phase two, that it has a subsidy request or need that it was going to be greater than the phase one, but yet our sales tax revenue is going to be a fairly fixed number. So that's where, when we were yakking, that's what we came up with, right? Yeah, there you go. Okay, so having said that, I think we're ready for somebody to read the motion and we can go ahead and discuss and vote on the motion. Or unless there's any more comments. Go ahead, Caroline.
I move to adopt the betterments presented totaling 2.3 million, contingent that there is not a debt service reserve fund requirement.
I second.
So it's been moved and seconded to adopt the betterments presented totaling 2.3 million, contingent there is not a debt service reserve fund requirement. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, then all those in favor of the motion as presented signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. The motion carries. Darcy and Veronica, the next item on the agenda, 10B, the investment policy for the Public Facilities District. Please go ahead.
Thank you again. Board members, we have in your packet a draft investment policy for your review that will guide future action between the board members, the executive director, and the fiscal agent about options for investing funds available that are not currently necessary for operations, with the option or the availability to return a rate or receive a rate of return and earn some interest on funds. And so that it's important to have that policy so it lays out each party's roles and responsibilities. And we certainly need the board's direction and approval over that policy to take further action regarding investments and making decisions related to funds in the possession of the PFD.
Thank you. Veronica, was there anything you wanted to add to this discussion, or no, you're good? Okay, thank you. And I guess at this point, is there any other questions for Darcy, or should we move on to the motion? Hearing none, if somebody would please go ahead and read the motion. This is it.
You want me to read it?
Just a minute, guys. Just one quick question by Caroline. So it's this one right here, Resolution 2024-12, which is what we're going to vote on right now.
Yeah.
So it's this one. Yeah, good.
That's what I mean.
So Caroline's going to read it. Is that the,
Do we have an investment policy?
this is it. This is what we're going to do.
This.
Yep.
piece of paper. Oh.
Yep.
Oh.
Go ahead.
So I move to approve resolution number 2024-12 to adopt the Pasco Public Facilities District investment policy.
Very good. It has been moved and it has been seconded to approve resolution number 2024-12. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, then all in favor of the motion 2024-12 as read, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, say no. The motion carries. Now, item 10C, excess cash deposit alternatives. Eric, Darcy, and Matt, is there any order we're going to go in to discuss this? Do we start out with you then, Eric, or
Maybe.
we're
Thank
all
you,
the way down the
thank you.
table down to Darcy?
Sounds
Thank
good.
you, Darcy.
It makes sense to me too, since we just talked about the investment policy, that I lead this one off with the approved investment policy. As I mentioned before, that assigns roles and responsibilities regarding making decisions with funds that the PFD has in hand. And using that, we have two options available that are outlined in the policy, a tool through US Bank, and then also the alternative option is using the local government investment pool. Both have different, they're separate, of course, tools for investment, and have pros and different requirements, or not necessarily cons. But the one thing that we did note is that the US Bank policy or tool has the FDIC guarantee and insurance applied to it, where LGIP has is not. The tools or the investment items that are the LGIP investments take place or contribute to are very secure, like US government treasury information or tools. Sorry, I'm having a hard time talking. But at this point in time, with the investment policy in place, we have alternatives that we can use. And I'll pass it next to Mr. Ferguson.
Not a whole lot to add, other than the fact that obviously the goal is to make sure that you're able to first and foremost be able to store any funds in a safe place that then can be utilized down the road. And these are two of the options that we believe would be available to the board. So, and it sounds like there's some more legwork that myself and the finance folks are going to do to nail down exactly which option is best when. And we'll come back and report that to the board. But based on these next two policies, that should give your fiscal agent the ability to have the flexibility to make sure that the money is first and foremost stored for being able to be utilized for the project. That's what the voter proof funds have to be utilized for, but they have to be stored in such a way that it's safe, as well as be able to not waste in terms of money sitting in a non-interest bearing account. Obviously loses value over time, so through inflation. So anyway, the main point is to be able to have these options, and yeah, going forward, I think this will really help help the finance staff figure out exactly what are best to be used and when.
So I support the passage of this 2024-13 and the eventual discussion of 2024-14. And the reason for that, Leonard, what was the phrase that you would describe when we were always 60 days before we?
Oh, yeah. It takes 60 days to get anything done. Yeah,
Yes. So what we're doing here, I think, is we're cutting down the 60 days so that we're ready maybe at day one instead of 59.
I think that's a great idea, although we've been chasing this one for 4 months now. So the 60-day thing is out the window, okay?
All right.
And the finance.
Luckily, nobody.
No, I think by having both options in there, that is the proper thing to do, and to pass this motion is the correct thing.
I was just going to add, based on gosh, I'm just stuttering today. I'm sorry. Based on the decision that the board makes, we'll go look at, the funding that you have available to invest, and the different options and investment rate of returns that is available, and return to provide you options based on cash flow projections. So come back to give you a little more information after some following research to lay those elements out in front of the board.
I just might add something else in there, Darcy, is how long does it take to retrieve the funds? Typically they're just right away, but
Yes.
That's just another point. Yeah.
Both options that have just about a day's worth of notice that we need to give them to pull money back out.
Okay,
So,
super.
the LGIP, when it's a bigger amount of money, they like an extra day's notice so that they can plan their investments, but they are very liquid.
Okay.
Very good. Caroline, do you want to go ahead and read that motion 2024-13? Yep.
Okay, so I move to approve resolution number 2024-13, authorizing investment of Pasco Public Facilities District funds in U.S. Bank under the IntraFi cash service.
Is there a second? Thank you. So it's been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 2024-13. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, then all those in favor of the motion 2024-13 as read, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, say no. Hearing none, the motion carries. Now on to the second motion, 2024-14. It's either one of you two ladies. Go ahead.
I move to approve resolution number 2024-14, authorizing investment of Pasco Public Facilities District funds in the local government investment pool.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve resolution 2024-14. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, then all those in favor of 2024-14 as read, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, say no. The motion carries. Item number, wherever we are in here, on 10D, rezone and special permit application.
And I'll lead that off, Mr. Morissette, if that's okay. I forgot to put who's in charge of it.
Who is in charge of this?
I'm going to start it off, and I may need some help from Heath on
Go
this
ahead.
one. This is a little bit of a surprise. We have been moving forward on the assumption that we would be able to put the facility on a piece of property without having to rezone. That was an initial question. We have City of Pasco several months ago, and we thought that answer was we did not need to. It turns out that we do need to rezone it. And that is causing a little bit of a time conflict, but we believe it isn't. We believe if you choose to have me go rezone it from residential transitional, which is a placeholder for property in the City of Pasco, to mixed use, we will be able to do it in sufficient time as to not interfere with the schedule, including grading permits and that sort of thing, or groundbreaking in January. The myriad details, I think Heath could put it in a little better perspective, but I'm going to urge you to enable me to move forward with a rezone for the property. It costs about $1,000. Essentially, it needs to be reviewed by a hearing examiner with a form that's filled out, ratified by council, and then once the rezone has occurred, I believe that's also going to enable us to not have to worry about other elements to the site in future phases. It was the discussion we had with City of Pasco. It would just make it much easier for everybody concerned to go ahead and rezone this particular property so it fits our needs best. With that, what did I miss, or perspective might help, Heath?
I don't think you missed anything. This is just something that we need to do. There are ways we could keep this the current zoning, but we'd have to do a bunch of applications for exceptions to some of the codes, and that just doesn't seem conducive. It doesn't seem like the best route. So we agree with the city, the best route is to rezone. We just didn't realize we weren't going to need to until a recent meeting. But the city has cooperated and teamed with us very well to put together a logistics of getting it rezoned without putting off our schedule, but we need to get on it right now.
Open to, of course, any questions, because this is one of those that just came about in the past few days and wanted to make sure it was on the agenda for tonight. So we did rush it just a bit, but open to any questions and discussion, of course.
No, it sounds reasonable. Got to cross the T's and dot the I's.
I agree.
It's disappointing that we have to do this, but I guess we'll do it. Do we need a resolution number?
No, this can be done by a motion, and that the motion in front of you did review by council to have the motion that's listed.
Okay. I'm ready to make the motion if you're ready. Okay. I move to direct the PPFD Executive Director to apply and complete a rezone application for the 13 acres of Broadmoor property from residential transitional RT to mixed use, including an $825 fee for rezone fee, environmental checklist, radius notification, city application review cost, and any other tasks or fees reasonably necessary to complete the rezone process.
Is there a second?
A second.
So it's been moved and seconded regarding the rezone and special permit application. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, then all in favor of the rezone and special permit application as read, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, say no. The motion carries.
And thank you, board. Heath and I will be working on that application and turning that in hopefully tomorrow.
Item number 11A Executive Director report.
And this is a banner month. There has been a lot that has happened this month, and I debated on whether or not put things up in an agenda, but since the agenda was set about a week ago, first thing I get to report, we have completed Washington State's Commerce Review for Financial Feasibility. That was posted and a letter to the governor. So that enables us to take on debt. That was an interesting process. Of course, we've been working on it for months, and the contractor that the State Commerce uses was very helpful throughout the process. So if you ever hear the name Susan Musselman, she's very helpful. That is one of the things that was done, and I'm going to skip actually to item 3 because bonding. And I think the best news I have to report tonight is you have a loan as of about 1 p.m. this afternoon. $50 million will be deposited in for design and construction on November 5th. There are myriad details I could go into, and I'm not a finance expert. The bottom line is that $50 million at an interest rate, I believe, of 4.30%, with an annual debt service of $2,999,000, to say just slightly less than $3 million, which I believe is $200,000 or $300,000 less than our projection on bonding. So we have a bond. You have money coming in the bank account in November, and that's going to be important because I think that Heath and Boughton and NAC are going to be spending a lot of our money to go build a facility. So the important step today, and also exciting. I've never experienced being pricing calls and bonding and all of that. I know that this has been something I've sat in your seat before as mayor, and people are excited. When you talk about that many zeros, it's obviously a number that was very impressive. And I think also the folks that helped us through that, including Scott Bauer with Northwest Municipal Advisory. We have our bond counsel helped us tremendously, and also KeyBank, our underwriter too. That team of face, I think a couple of you seen a couple of those folks, but there's been a team of about a dozen or more working the vast number of months to get this large loan in place. And it's in place at an A rating. The timing of the market was pretty good with an interest rate drop in the past few weeks. There was a little bit of drama yesterday and today, but it still came in a little bit better than expected from even period a week ago. So I'm happy to report you got yourself money to go build an aquatics facility. With that, also item 2, City Council update. I did attend a City Council meeting. They requested I appear. I wasn't sure exactly what subjects they might want to talk about. I did give a update on where we're at with the project and some updated schematics. There were some questions. There was a specific question about one of the council members is on the transit board, and they asked if we might be able to make some land available for them to build a transit transfer station. And I very politely said that the board very deliberately wants 13 acres for long-term planning, and encouraged them actually, if possible, there might be some land available up in the northwest corner to retain the campus concept. And we'll follow up with them to see if that's a possibility. And also answered, that board member also had some comments too about some social media posts. I did my best to give the analogy about Pasco is building a regional facility the best it can and upsizing it where it can, example of the increasing the natatorium, and a variety of other questions. And I thought council was very supportive, so it was good to catch up with them again. And then finally, just to give you kind of a heads up, there are some things coming down the pike that weren't ready for this meeting, but one of the things that we'll probably need to do related to the design and construction process, calling a marketing and development possible contract, we may need to do some signage, and that presumes that we have also maybe some logo work. I cribbed off of the city's logo. We probably should have our own logo. This is something that we contemplated possibly doing some of it in the ILA, but there probably is a pretty good opportunity to do it via the design and construction project, because they're going to need some of these things. would expect next month to come to you to present a possible addition for a marketing and development project, or a project that may cost some additional dollars. We'll figure out what the estimates are. And then we're also going to have to think about furnishings and equipment for this facility. As we get down further down, where it's not the umbrella color, but we need actual umbrellas and those sorts of things. So I just wanted to give you a heads up that those are some of the things that we're working on. And that constitutes overall my report this evening.
Matt, tell me again the webpage that people can go to read about the state financial review. Is it the Department of Commerce, or who is it? Or Darcy, do you know? You're looking for it right now?
It is Department of Commerce. I did share it with board members an email address. It's not one I could recite. It's a fairly lengthy address.
Okay. The only reason I asked is maybe somebody in the listening world would like to go take a look at it. So.
Well, in fact, what I'll do on social media, since we do have a Facebook page, I'll post the link to that on the Facebook. Pasco Public Facilities District does have a Facebook page. We'll post a link to it on there at least.
Good, thank you. Okay, any questions for Matt? Leonard or Spence, you got any questions for Matt?
No, I'm good. Good job.
Okay.
Good.
So 11B, Owner's Representative Report, Heath Gardner.
Well, the other reports that have been given have been pretty good. So I don't know how much I'll add to those. You do have a monthly report from us in your packet. And that's going to be a regular occurrence here now that we're picking up speed. And with that report was attached a big sheet. I did bring 11 by 17 versions. I don't know if they got printed big in your packet or not, but I brought big ones in case anybody wants them. So we'll use this big sheet budget is what we call it to report on a monthly basis. With the arrival of the bond funds, Veronica and Darcy also will be working to set up the project inside the PPFD world. And so we're in concert with her. We're going to be moving costs such as the property and stuff into this that will go in that cost to date column. So you'll see a jump up of that probably next month, where some of those initial costs that have been expended by the PPFD to date that are going to go out of the received funds will start showing up on here, and then everything going forward will be on here. Also, you'll notice there's an income section down at the very bottom that shows the bond proceeds. We went ahead and entered in a potential additional, which we've received confirmation today is not potential anymore, it's real. And with that and the $1 million that you all moved for the added acreage, would bring the income available for project to 51 million, which we show as that the budget is currently about $3 million under that. With the move that you made tonight, we will take that direction and move forward with preparing some change orders for those betterments that were presented by the Design and Construction Committee, and those change orders will need to be approved by the board probably next month. So that's kind of how that's going forward. Any questions about the big sheet?
Yeah, I don't have it obviously in front of me, but if we could tell me about, we have two columns, one for the bond that was issued and how that is dealt with, and then next to it the revenue that's coming in on a monthly basis as another line item, and they'll come across, but that way we can follow what's left of the bond, and then we can keep track of the construction, although Darcy provides it with us there, but that's just another source of revenue that could be on this report that you're talking about. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and Leonard, I think you're referring to the cash flow sheet, which was the next sheet I was going to move to. So that's a
Well,
good
then
segue.
okay, then I'll be real quiet.
I think you are referring to the cash flow sheet, the one that kind of reads horizontally.
Yep, okay.
Yep. Okay. And so that, yes, you're right. That has some two categories. I'll just go ahead with that and then we can have any questions. So the other sheet that I attached to the report, I don't know if that'll be a monthly thing going forward or not, but it seemed appropriate at this juncture, is this cash flow projection. We put this together, Matt and I, to try to just to try to get a grip on how this is all going to work over time and how what the PPFD's cash reserves are going to look like as a result of this project, just for your information and decision making going forward. So what you've got here, which just like Leonard said, is we tried to identify what the PPFD general account is going to look like, because what Veronica's busy doing is creating a project account, right? So these bond proceeds will hit this project account. And what you'll notice on here is that in November, which we're going to say those project monies are going to hit that project account in November. And you'll see that immediately some of those bond proceeds are going to be used to pay back the costs that have already been expended by the PPFD, because things that are in that big sheet budget, like property and the design work that's been done so far, and your owner's rep billings and things like that, they're going to get paid back. So you'll see this anticipated $6,080,000 number that will become a cost immediately to the the project account, and then will therefore get deposited into the PPFD account, if you will. Darcy's dying to add to this.
I was just gonna, you might recall that early in the process, the board approved a resolution to reimburse expenses that occurred between getting started on this project and actually issuing the bond and receiving funds. And so this is that reimbursement process happening, so that the regular operational funds that you have spent on construction related work will be reimbursed, and the cost will be attributed to bond dollars instead.
Darcy, thank you for that reminder.
Yeah. And then with that, then going forward, we're just trying to project what there is. So there's some debt service payments that you're going to need to make during the project. You'll see those up there in that general account section, because those debt service numbers are not in our project budget. Those will need to be paid by the PPFD. So you'll see there's a $260,000 debt service payment in January 25. That is for the city. That is for the agreement with the city to pay debt service on the road project. So that's that 260. And then the first anticipated payment for the loan that you just received that Matt told you about is out there in November of 25. And as we actually probably gonna have to update that number now that we know what they really are, but this sheet anticipated a $3.4 million payment there. And then in January of 26, another payment for the city debt service. So those things are going to be paid during the project. This is trying to identify what's happening during the project before the facility is up and operational and you have any sort of revenue coming from that, right? Or subsidy coming from that. Then kind of the rest of the construction costs are just sort of rolled up and divided evenly right now. That's not reality, but that's just showing that eventually the project account goes to zero and the PPFD account keeps chugging along. We're using a $375,000 number for sales tax receipts. That number is a number we've been using for a while. It's very conservative. It would appear to be very conservative at this time. So you'd probably be better off than that by a good margin. So any questions on either of those sheets?
None from me. Leonard, Spence, you guys got any?
No, it covered it very well.
Marie, Carolyn? You good? Okay, very good.
Okay, other than those, I've got a couple other things to
Okay.
mention. One of the, you'll see in my report, the SEPA process is getting close to wrapping up. That represents a risk that hopefully we'll be identifying, and anything that comes out of that maybe could affect our budget. So we'll be identifying that and eliminating those risks soon. We're still working on nailing down the cost for utilities to the site. We have some information from some of the utilities. We just got some information from one of the major utilities, and that dollar amount is a bit higher than we anticipated. We're trying to figure out why that is, and see if we can mitigate it. But that's one of those things that Leonard has been talking about that may end up, tapping the contingency a little bit. It's not anything that's a huge problem, but it is larger than anticipated, and we just got those like today, so we're still dealing with those. I mentioned we'll bring that change order for betterments. The other thing I wanted to mention is that we're reviewing a stakeholder register, which was approved by you, and we're using that as our guide for when we need approvals of things and who needs to be informed and approve. We're going to probably, Matt and I are probably going to work on a revision. We had mentioned when that all got approved, we had mentioned that we'll update it as needed and let it be a living document. So we're going to probably work on an update to that. We realize that there's not really any provision on there to dictate Matt's ability to sign like regulatory paperwork and permit applications and things like that are sort of everyday things in a construction project. So we want to add some of those things to that stakeholder register and then bring that for your approval before this meeting next month, so that we can so that Matt can have the freedom to respond fast enough with the construction project to apply for permits and other regulatory things like that are day-to-day sort of construction project items for an owner.
I don't remember the specifics of that. I don't remember. Marie, are you part of that approval process? I don't remember. Yeah. Okay. But you're somehow intertwined in this thing. Okay, good.
It's something I've laminated and I carry with me, and it has the columns about whether or not you need approval, information on that sort of thing. And it's been helpful for us striking that balance to make sure that you as a board are informed and also involved in critical decisions. Hopefully we've been striking that right balance, because as I've been learning, there's a lot of things that we do our best to make sure that the board approves prior and isn't a surprise. But there's also, I think we're going to be coming into a period where there's going to be a lot more need to be fleet of foot, to be able to do the things for design and construction. So I think Heath is anticipating that. So I know that as your director, I came on getting you from zero to some point on the way. I think to this month in particular, having gotten you land, having gotten you a loan, having gotten a variety of things, I've been wondering what my role might be between now and ribbon cutting, and I see it becoming much more busy. So in your continued trust to try and make this project successful for the community and balance the need for everybody to be informed that needs the right amount of information, I think the stakeholder agreement's been helpful for that process.
Well,
Matt, your need will not diminish for the next 2 years.
yeah, and that gets us through phase one.
Yeah.
At the same time, though, there is an eclipse in August of 2026 in Spain, and I'm going to that. So we'll need to have this thing wrapped up before August of 2026.
Well,
I understand, but an eclipse only lasts for just a little while.
All right, very good. Well, Jesse, we're on item number 11C, and it's only taken an hour and 33 minutes to get here.
Well,
Go
good
ahead.
news. I have no updates for you today. So nothing to add, but we'll be looking forward to bringing something perhaps next meeting. Thank you.
Very good. Okay, the next board meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, November the 19th, 2024, right here at 4 p.m. Any other comments then, Matt?
No, other than maybe if for December meeting, we might want to think about doing that a week early. We'll look at the schedule. We'll decide that next month.
Okay.
Maybe do it on the second week instead of the third week.
Okay, let me know in plenty of time. Yeah.
Okay, if there's no other business to come before.
Well, let me just throw this on the table, and it's only just a comment because I'm not there. I was sitting here thinking about security and with the construction committee, and what do we do with each shift that's there? Be thinking about whether there's 3 different things in a safe because it's at the end of a road, and we need to think about security for whatever's going to be there, if there's funds or paperwork or whatever. And that's all I wanted to say. It has nothing to do with anything except for I'm just thinking of security.
Thank you, Leonard. We have been thinking about where a safe would be placed and who would have access and how it would be secured. So,
Well,
yeah.
that wasn't in your report, so I had to ask.
Sorry.
Okay, next time. Good job. Good job.
All right, thank you, everyone. Then it is 5:35 p.m. and I'll go ahead and adjourn the meeting and see everybody Tuesday, November the 19th.
Okay, thank you all.
Thank you.
Matt, can I make a comment before you get out of there?
Go ahead.
If you decide to change that December meeting, that's going to be difficult for me.
Okay.
I won't be in town, so.
Okay, noted. I also listened to Leonard, I think trying to project also for my January, February, and possibly March, we'll try and put, set those. Thank you.
All right, thanks.
Sorry. I got